Hey, welcome to the Joe Weil Morning Poem Show. You've seen I shaved my head a little. I think it looks cleaner this way. You know, what can I say? Makes my eyes bluer. Whatever. Today we're going to do a poet whose work I first encountered by reading an essay. The one thing I really liked by Robert Bly was this essay called Leaping Poetry. It's a long essay. Dover Thrift Editions, those blessed people who do some wonderful things like the early poems of William Carlos Williams that you're not even going to get in the collected Williams usually, put together a copy of Leaping Poetry, this essay. And in that, Robert Bly had this weird comparison of Etheridge Knight to Wallace Stevens, but it's been a long time since I read Leaping Poetry, and I can't get a hold of it right now. I hope I can. Maybe somebody out there will have a copy they can send me. But Etheridge Knight, he was born in Corinth, Mississippi, one of 7 children. He attended high school for 2 years, but he was largely self-educated. He served in the Army and was wounded in combat during the Korean War. And he got addicted to drugs while recuperating from the injuries. And my friend Dave Roscoe's, Dave, the great friend of poets, had Etheridge come read for him in New Brunswick, I think in 1989, only 2 years before he died. And I can't believe it was that long ago, 1991. I remember Lamont Steptoe telling me the news and how Etheridge had gone to visit his people out in Indiana. I think he died out in Indiana, but none of this matters. He had a very odd way with haiku. Now, I normally dislike haiku. Not only do I dislike conventional haiku, but I almost always dislike unconventional haiku. Jack Kerouac's haiku, for the most part, is worse than watching dust collect on a windowsill. Actually, I kind of like watching dust collect on a windowsill, especially if it's being filtered through light. Sorry, Jack Kerouac, but you don't have that power. But at any rate, I like Etheridge's haiku, because they don't try to stay away from aphorism. They also don't try to stay away from emotion. There are a lot of things going on in these. Haiku. 1. Eastern Guard Tower glints in sunset. Convicts rest like lizards on rocks. 2. The piano man is stingy at 3 a.m. His songs drop like plum. 3. Morning sun slants cell. Drunks stagger like crippled flies on jailhouse floor. 4. To write a blues song is to regiment riots and pluck gems from graves. 5. A bare pecan tree slips a pencil shadow down a moonlit snow slope. That's nice. 6. The falling snowflakes cannot blunt the heart aches nor match the steel stillness. 7. Under moon shadows, a tall boy flashes knife and slices star-bright ice. 8. In the August grass, struck by the last rays of sun, the cracked teacup screams. That is a really amazing use of its synesthesia, as I've told you, students. 9. Making jazz swing in. 17 syllables ain't no square poet's job. One of his poems that I really love that I don't have a copy of here is All Fucked Up, because it has the speaking voice. We have to remember that poetry is that language, both more decorative or heightened and flatter than prose. It's at the extremis of the prosaic. So a James Tate, who writes really what you would call flat prose, is creating poetry insofar as the main priority of his verbal act is language drawing attention to itself as language. In this case, by its complete eschewal of any of the typical poetic devices. All right, and it also is funny. Let's face it, it doesn't hurt to be funny in a wonderfully flat, kind of glib, cheerfully flat way. All right, but also when you have poets that write in the paratactic sentence, like what I always said, I guarantee you can write a Chinese poem if you just make statements with no conjunctions. The moon is late tonight. I toss a ball into the pond. I wait 15 hours for her to arrive. Stars travel through the trees. She travels through my mind. Or something like that. See, boom, 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 boom. It's called paratactic structure. Got to be careful, because you got to be careful if you don't handle it right. It's ugh language. Maybe that's the problem I have with haiku. That if it's not handled right, it's ugh. It sounds as false as Tarzan speaking really bad English to prove he's a savage. Give me a break. Okay? And we've gotten used to that. All right, let's read one more Etheridge Knight poem. All right? This is called A Poem for Myself. I was born in Mississippi. I walked barefoot through the mud. Born black in Mississippi, walked barefoot through the mud. But when I reached the age of 12, I left that place for good. Said my daddy chopped cotton and he drank his liquor straight. When I left that Sunday morning, he was leaning on the barnyard gate. Left her standing in the yard with the sun shining in her eyes. And I headed north as straight as the wild goose flies. I've been to Detroit and Chicago, been to New York City too. I've been to Detroit and Chicago, been to New York City too. Said I done strolled all these funky avenues. I'm still the same old black boy with the same old blues. Going back to Mississippi, this time to stay for good. Going back to Mississippi, this time to stay for good. Gonna be free in Mississippi, or dead in the Mississippi mud. He uses slant rhyme here, and he also uses modified blues form. And was a very conscious artist, and well deserving of being remembered. Didn't have a great output of work, but what he does have has entered the canon. And my friend Dave and them gave him Stuart Ross, who's now also dead, gave Etheridge Knight a ride back to Philly, where he was staying. And he was very gracious. He read for a small crowd his famous poet, now famous and dead, 1989. Small, not a large crowd, at the Court Tavern in New Brunswick. Did not make a fuss. All right. So in some ways, he reminds me of those Irish bards. Here is Rafferty, playing his harp nigh unto empty pockets. But he had a good harp. Etheridge Knight.